Hey everyone, thanks for taking the time to take a look at this video here. I just wanted to go over how much money I make and expectations when it comes to selling on Amazon. Now I want to show you guys this just so people who are starting out have a realistic expectation of how the business actually goes if you really work hard at it. Now, I first started selling on Amazon with $300 that I used to open up a business bank account. And I started off going to garage sales and thrift stores. I wasn't doing any retail arbitrage or online arbitrage. I wasn't doing wholesale or private label, none of that stuff. I didn't know anyone who sold on eBay. I didn't know anyone who sold on Amazon. I didn't even know you could sell on Amazon until I woke up one morning and I just decided to Google how to sell online or how to make money selling online. That was my Google search that led me to Amazon FBA. Now, I wanted to make this video showing what I made my first and second year because a lot of people ask this question in group. A lot of people don't show how much money they're actually making, which is fine. I'm actually not super comfortable showing how much I make either, but I thought this would actually help people to get a better understanding of what you can expect if you start where I started. Now, I started with $300, like I said, and I started off going around to garage sales and thrift stores. I was working a full-time job, and I just wanted to see if this would work. So I watched YouTube videos. I was in Thrifting for Profit. I think it was my first Facebook group. And I just basically learned how to go to garage sales and thrift stores and buy stuff and resell it on Amazon. And by watching a ton of YouTube videos, I was just like a sponge, just looking for what stuff to buy, what stuff to keep an eye out for. And I just educated myself. And I sold a lot of books and board games in the beginning. That was a lot of work, getting board games from Goodwill and counting all the pieces and seeing if everything's there and reselling board games on Amazon. That was a nightmare. And trying to peel the tape off the boxes from Goodwill and selling books. Anyways, here's my numbers. You can see where I started. Started in March. I got charged the fee for signing up for a pro account through Amazon. I finally got a shipment in April, and you can see I didn't make any money for April either. Stuff was in transit. Had a few sales, nothing impressive. And here we go, right here in May, I made a profit of $923, and I'm not going to go through each month, but you can see how it went. Made $176 here, lost money here, not sure why. Made money here and here and here and here. And you can see at the end of the year, I mean, this is my first Christmas, I made almost $4,000 net profit. That's after all my expenses taken out. Just from that initial $300. I used $300 and I just bought inventory from garage sales and thrift stores and kept flipping it. Right around, I think, September is when I started getting into retail arbitrage and online arbitrage and wholesale, and I ditched the garage sales and thrift stores because by this point I had enough money to spend that I couldn't spend all of it at thrift stores and garage sales. At the time I was living in a small town. There was only so much money you can spend at thrift stores and garage sales. Eventually, you're going to have to find some way to spend that money that you've been making. So I went to retail arbitrage and online arbitrage. And you can see my results here for my first 8 months, about 8 months selling on Amazon. I made $8,700 net profit. And I only started with $300. Now, I was working a full-time job. I didn't take any extra money from that full-time job and dump it into this business. I strictly used that $300 and just flipped it over and over and over. I actually have never taken any money out of my job and put it into my business besides that initial $300. I didn't have any credit cards I used. I didn't have any loans. I couldn't even get credit cards because I had terrible credit, because I had graduated college and didn't keep up with my student loan payments because I had no money. And so those ruined my credit, which I've since repaired thanks to this business. But this is my first 8 months. Started with $300. So if you don't have a lot of money, guys, you can do this. The great thing about garage sales and thrift stores is you get huge margins on items when you find them at garage sales and thrift stores. Bigger than you're going to get from retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, wholesale. And that's probably what allowed my business to grow as fast as it did. And I just want to talk about expectations because I see a lot of people post really huge numbers in these Facebook groups sometimes. You have to keep in mind, like, if you see someone who's been selling on 3 months and they've been selling on Amazon, say, for 3 months, and they post a figure of like 50,000 in sales or 75,000 in sales after 3 months, and everyone's like, wow, how'd you do it? Like, what'd you do? Everyone's jaw like drops to the floor. And the thing you have to keep in mind is you're going to have sales based on basically how much money you have to invest in inventory. If you got 10 or 20, 30 grand, and that's what you start with when you start this business, and you just start buying up everything in the stores and wholesale, guess what? You're going to get huge sales within a matter of months. And it doesn't mean that when you see these people post these things, they're any smarter or better than you or any more educated than you when it comes to selling on Amazon. You might be selling on Amazon for a year and you haven't had those results yet, but you're more experienced with the ins and outs of the business and selling on Amazon than someone who's only been selling for 3 months. They might have been selling on eBay for 5 to 10 years before you, and they just transferred over to Amazon. Maybe they have a lot of money that they can invest in this business right from the jump. There's so many factors you have to consider. They might have a brick and mortar business and they just decided to start selling on Amazon. So when you see people post these huge numbers, don't get discouraged if they're like, well, we've been selling 3 months, we did 50,000 already. I mean, that's great, but the reality is it depends how much money you have to start with. If you start with $300, there's no way in 3 months you're going to be doing 50,000 a month in sales. It's just not going to happen. You just cannot buy, ship, sell, buy new inventory and flip it that quick, that fast, and turn it over to do 50,000 in sales in 3 months, guys. So don't get all starry-eyed and impressed by these numbers. It just comes down to how much money you have to invest at the start. So here we see my second year selling on Amazon, and this was actually my first full year selling on Amazon. Now keep in mind, I started with $300, and up to this point, I hadn't taken out nothing from credit cards or loans. I dumped no more money into my business. All these results are strictly from starting off with $300. So my first full year, which you could say is about a year and 8 months, I finished out the year with $187,000 in gross sales, which gave me a net profit of $36,000. Now, that's a pretty big jump because the year before I made $9,000, so that's about a $27,000 increase in profit. And I actually wound up quitting my job in November of 2014. I've actually been selling on Amazon full-time now for a year without a job, and I continue to do so. But you can just see the results. We came into January here, still doing pretty good, and this whole year here, I was working all the way up until November, when I finally just quit my job, and you could see November was a good month, December was a good month. And so right around, I think I took out credit card loans for the first time around September because I knew Christmas was coming up and I wanted to try to get as much cash on hand for Christmas because the year before I was really restricted by how much money I had. I was finding inventory, there was so much stuff to buy that I just couldn't take advantage of it because I didn't have enough money. I'd spend my whole payout and I was just at the mercy of getting my payouts every 2 weeks and reinvesting that cash. So when this year came around for Christmas, I actually got one credit card with like a $2,000 limit. I still had fairly poor credit, so no one wanted to give me any credit cards. My bank, after practically begging them, they finally gave me a credit card with $2,000 on it. So that's the only other cash I infused into my business. Now, currently, I have a ton of credit cards, like all kinds, but up to this point, this was only $300 just buying and reselling. I was doing some wholesale at this point too, retail arbitrage, online arbitrage. I lived in a small town. We didn't have much. I literally had to drive an hour and a half just to hit a Target, a Toys R Us, a Barnes & Noble, a Bed Bath & Beyond, a Best Buy, a mall. I had to drive an hour and a half. The small town where I was living, there was like 2 Walmarts, 1 Costco. I mean, there was like nothing. So I was able to do this in a small town, doing a lot of online arbitrage and driving every 2 weeks, an hour and a half to source other stores. So this was my second year selling on Amazon, and I was working, like I said, full-time job up until November. So I just want to show you guys this so you have a realistic expectation of what you can expect when you sell on Amazon. If you have a lot of money to start, you're going to have huge results really fast if you're just buying and reselling. It all comes down to how much money you have to invest. So if you don't have a lot, don't get discouraged. You can do this with $100, $50. Just go to garage sales and thrift stores and keep flipping the stuff as quick as you can, and your business will grow. Now, don't be bummed out when prices tank. I see a lot of people get discouraged. That's kind of the name of the game in this business. If you find a toy, for example, with a 50% return, and you buy it and you send it in and the price tanks and you wind up breaking even, making a dollar, losing a dollar, or maybe you get a 10% return. Don't get bummed out or discouraged by that. That's the name of the game. And even if you lose money, every single business in the world takes losses occasionally on products that they're selling. It doesn't matter what business. If you own a restaurant, I mean, glasses and plates will get dropped and broken. You lose money because that plate broke. People order food and they return the food because they didn't like it. You take a loss on that food. The kitchen messes up the food they're making and take a loss on that food. Walmart gets customer returns and theft, and every business takes losses. So, when you buy stuff, especially toys, which are super saturated, anything you buy, if you wind up losing money or only breaking even, that's the business, guys. That shouldn't bum you out or discourage you at all. I mean, that happens, and the bigger your business grows, you're going to see that happen more and more often, just as you're selling more and more items. So all businesses have losses. Expect that to happen. I have items all the time that I purchase that I wind up breaking even or making a few dollars. Here and there, occasionally I'll lose money, but that's just the way the business works. So don't get discouraged when that happens. That will happen. Expect it to happen. That's the business. That's what you signed up for. And don't label it as good or bad. It just is. That's how the whole system works. That happens occasionally. Now, when I started selling on Amazon, like I said, I was working a full-time job, so I just literally reinvested all my profits back into the business, and I didn't pay myself anything for about a year, and then I finally wrote myself a check for $1,000, and that was it. And I continued, I think because I was going to Maui, I was taking my daughter to Hawaii or something, I wanted some extra money, but I just reinvested all my money into it, and it grew, and now I've been selling online full-time for a year without my job, doing great. And so I hope this inspires some of you who don't start off with a lot of money. When it comes to selling on Amazon, you can do it if you just work hard at it, but be realistic. It does take time. You're not going to get rich doing this overnight. It took me a year and a half of grinding before I finally quit my job. And I was doing this 24/7, 7 days a week. Whenever I was not at work, I was working on this business as hard as I could. So it takes time, but you can get there if you just keep working and be consistent. That's the most important thing. Don't work really hard for 2 or 3 weeks and then don't work hard for 2 or 3 weeks, because then you're just right back to where you started. You have to be consistent every single day. And what I used to do with my payouts, when I got my payouts, they would be spent within 2 days, 3 tops. Like if my payout was going to show up in my bank account on Friday, on Wednesday, I was online already looking for deals to buy, and I would make a list. So as soon as I woke up Friday morning, I would pull up that list, buy everything on the list, and if I had any extra money, I'd go do retail arbitrage until it was spent. I would literally spend my money in 2 or 3 days, and then I would spend the rest of the week and a half looking for wholesalers, contacting wholesalers to find out about setting up wholesale accounts to see if they were profitable, repricing my inventory, watching videos and listening to podcasts to educate myself. So that should be your work ethic. When you have money, spend it as fast as you can. If you know your money is going to be there in 3 days, start sourcing online before the money gets there. That way you wake up, money's spent right away. Anything you got left, you go to the store and spend it. So I hope this video helped you guys. I hope you found it somewhat inspirational, but just keep at it. Keep working hard. We have a Facebook group, Amazing Arbitrage, which is doing great. Great community of people where we help out new sellers. Even if you've been selling a while, there's still stuff in there for you as well. We post bolos. We're going to be posting more Amazon flips. There's a lot of getting started tips and tricks in there, so please feel free to join our Facebook group, Amazing Arbitrage, and I will talk to you guys later.